Queen Elizabeth II has passed at 96. King Charles III reigns. Biden spends 41% of his time on vacation. The classified folders were empty. John Podesta is returning to the White House as clean energy advisor. Steve Bannon is indicted. Even Politico says ban TikTok. The White House is indeed colluding with big tech to suppress our freedom of speech. The Obamas return to see an unveiling of their portraits. Everybody gave them a standing ovation, but Joe. Why so much money to Ukraine, but no help from Mississippi? They're in a water crisis. Ivermectin is now approved by the CDC. Bed Bath & Beyond CFO jumps to his death, and I wouldn't mess with that MyPillow guy. Melania buys a new wardrobe after the raid, and I don't blame you, girl. I'm Mimi. This is the rundown. Now get ready for a very special surprise and an even more special guest on Politics Plus podcast. Here we go.
We must be honest with each other and with ourselves. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
Hi, everyone. This message is for the President of the United States. So if you know someone close to him, please tag them so they can bring this to his attention. My name is Alma Ohene-Opare. I'm a person of faith, a husband of 16 years, and a father of 4 wonderful children. I am also an immigrant to the United States of America. I came here at the age of 19, full of hope, optimism, and a willingness to do what was necessary to achieve the American dream. After 18 years of waiting and hoping, I was finally granted the privilege of becoming an American citizen in 2021. Today, I am a proud American, a law-abiding patriot, and a man willing to defend the principles and values that made America great and brought people like me here. Mr. President, I am also a conservative Republican, or what you have recently labeled a MAGA Republican. Over the last few days, you have looked into the camera and called me and millions of other people like me extremists. You have told me and my children that we don't matter to you because of our beliefs. Your spokespeople and the media have labeled us dangerous, full of hate, and a threat to democracy. You went as far as to suggest that we would not stand a chance against the government's F-15s in defending our country from tyranny. Your party leaders have taken your cue and called us terrorists, and all this without taking any time to acknowledge our humanity, listen to our concerns, or seek to understand our fears. I was born in a country where my rights were not always guaranteed, and to hear the President of America and the leader of the free world dismiss more than 70 million of his own countrymen as fringe and extreme and not worth listening to breaks my heart and makes me wonder what I should tell my children about the future of this once great shining city on a hill. This is the reason many of us embrace the call to make America great again. It is because we believe our great nation is under a moral, fiscal, and spiritual assault. We are MAGA because we want to restore the promise in the hearts of our children that this is the place where their efforts will be rewarded and where their true potential can be realized. We are MAGA because we believe in freedom of speech, the freedom to exercise our religion. We believe in limited government and the rule of law. We are MAGA because we love the Constitution and believe our founders established a means for we the people to defend it from enemies, both foreign and domestic. I am MAGA because I want to be able to look into the eyes of my 4 Black children to assure them that they're not victims, that they hold inside them what it takes to achieve anything they set their hearts on. We believe our leaders should put America and its interests first before any other nation. We believe our government should not saddle our children and grandchildren with insurmountable debt, chasing after a misguided idea of controlling or changing the course of the climate. Millions of us were horrified to witness what happened on January 6th and believe that justice must be served. But we also see through the attempt to paint all Republicans with a false moniker of insurrectionists and to conflate the genuine misgivings of those who feel disaffected and disenfranchised with an unfounded accusation that we are somehow against democracy. We are MAGA because we love law enforcement, but doubt whether the Justice Department or the FBI can be trusted to deal fairly and impartially when they have given us clear and repeated evidence of their political bias against half of the country. As a new American, this November will be the first time I get to exercise my right to vote, a right I've waited nearly 2 decades to earn. I understand the urge during an election season to attack those you see as political opponents. But Mr. President, I am not your enemy, and the tens of millions of MAGA Republicans are not filled with hate towards anyone. We love this country. We are heirs of the great legacy of freedom this country has afforded us and wish to exercise our right to be heard and not demonized. So I ask you, Mr. President, to tear down this wall of divisiveness and division that seeks to pit your fellow citizens against one another. Heed your own call for unity and lay off the rhetoric that seeks to demonize and defame millions of people who would give their lives and fortunes to defend these United States. If you believe in the redemption of America, then give my children a reason to hope, a reason to believe that our best days are ahead of us, in spite of the challenges we face as a country. Thank you for listening.
With that being said, welcome to the Politics Plus podcast, where we talk about politics and so much more. Here today we have a very special guest, and I am also here joined with a co-host. So
I'm Mimi.
Mel. And our special guest is Alma. Welcome to the show.
Alma.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Now, we all first saw you with the viral video, the Dear Mr. President. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and what prompted you to have such an amazing speech, just come from I don't know where. So you have to tell us, how did that come about?
All right. So I'm going to back up a little bit. And so when I first came to America, I remember in 2005, I was at a dance, my very first dance in the US. It was a Latin dance. And I danced with a few people, and I met this girl, and she asked me where I was from. And I said, I'm from Ghana. And she said, where's that? And I said, it's a small town in Wyoming.
No, you didn't.
Ask silly questions and get silly answers.
Yeah. And so
True.
She partially believed me because she asked if I was a farmer.
No.
So
no.
I am originally from Ghana, and that's in West Africa. For those who may not know, this in West Africa. So I came here actually at the age of 19, as I said in the video, and I've been here pretty much ever since. I came originally actually as a missionary, a Christian missionary to the United States, and which for me personally is kind of full circle, you know. The Europeans brought Christianity to Africa, and now we're bringing Christianity back to the West. So,
yes.
that was a great opportunity for me. And so I landed in Los Angeles for the first time. And the very first thing I thought, it was in May of 2003. The very first thing I thought when I landed in Los Angeles and got out of the airport was, man, how cold it was in Los Angeles for me. I thought it was the coldest. It was the coldest I'd ever been.
What month did you arrive?
And so this was in May. Yep.
Oh, wow.
It was.
So it should have been springtime.
Seriously. I was like in gloves. I was wearing a trench coat. I had, a hoodie on. I had everything, a scarf. I was cold. And so that was my very first experience in the US. But I spent 2 years going door to door as a missionary. And that gave me a front row seat into basically the living rooms of Americans of all walks of life. When I was there, I met people from all over the place. And so I had a book and I kept record of every country that I met somebody from. And by the end of my 2 years in Los Angeles, I had met people from 51 different countries. And so that was like the melting pot of all melting pots. And for me, what was fascinating about that is the idea that you can have this kind of diversity and still have a cohesive country, right? That was special. I thought, this has not been replicated anywhere else in the world, where you can have this kind of diversity and still have some semblance of unity. And so this definitely confirmed one of my feelings that this place is indeed a unique and exceptional place. And I did not want to take any of my opportunities for granted, because I always look back to the people that I knew back home who did not have the opportunity, who would gladly, take my place at any time. Yeah. But they were stuck where they were and I was here. And so I had to be the person who had to take advantage of everything that came my way. I had absolutely no inkling, or I did not want to take for granted the opportunity I was given. And so I made sure that I did everything that I needed to do to get where I wanted to be. And the good thing is that this country, at least for me, and once again, I'm not speaking about anybody else's experience, but for me, I did not find very many obstacles to getting where I wanted to go. Okay. And so that was my initial kind of coming into America. And then my journey has started and continued from that point up till this.
Well, it sounds like you came from a place of gratitude and hard work. And that's what this country was made from. And that's why you succeed.
Exactly. Yeah. I know that, I was definitely very grateful. And it wasn't just for being here, but also grateful for the people I met. And I met a lot of great people in Los Angeles in 2 years. And many of them remain my friends today. Actually, I'm going to share a story that I haven't shared with anybody, which is that while I was in Los Angeles, while I was in Los Angeles, I actually met a man who overheard me talking about my plans after my missionary service. So he said, "Hey, what are your plans?" I said, I'm planning to go to college in the U.S. And he said, "Is there anything I can do to help?" And at the time, I needed sponsorship. I needed someone who could, help sponsor me, my education. And he offered to do that. But he did not only offer to do that, he did that. He supported my education for a few years. But then he found out about my family. He went back to Ghana and he found 10 kids and he sponsored them as well. And 3 of those kids today, he brought them to the U.S. as well. They also had an education here, and they have all, now grown up and gotten married. One of them is still unmarried. But so I met this man serendipitously in Los Angeles, and he has affected my life. He actually also invested in my company when I started my company. And
he was your angel.
Exactly. Right. And maybe I am like the luckiest person in the world who had that opportunity happen to me. But for me, that tells me that there is opportunity And if you put yourself out there and you surround yourself with good people, what I believe makes America great is that Americans are good. And I don't see why anybody should in any blanket way denigrate the country in a way that divides us and takes us away from what makes us unique as a people.
I don't see any other country out there pulling together when there's a crisis within their own country, never less another country. But Americans have a way of forming together and banding together when they need.
Exactly.
It's just petty that we argue over nonsense.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you got that phone call from Fox? And did any other mainstream medias reach out to you?
So what I did after I posted the video and saw that it was getting some traction on TikTok, I actually went to Twitter and I DM'd the president and the first lady.
Oh, wow.
And so I sent it to them, and then it started going crazy all over the place. And so I was actually at a baby shower when I glanced over my phone and I saw a text message from Fox. I had actually missed their call because I had put my phone on silent. And so once I got that text message, I showed it to my wife and she was, flabbergasted. And then eventually I was able to get in contact with them and get the interview scheduled.
That's so exciting.
Nice.
And nobody else reached out to you?
I have had a lot of other people reach out, not necessarily any network
CNN hasn't
TV
reached
stations.
out.
Funny thing, I sent the video, I tagged all of them. I tagged every network in there. And other people tagged them as well. So I am sure somebody has seen it.
And you've not heard from the Bidens.
And the fact that I haven't heard anything from anybody
I was going to ask
tells you
the same
kind of where
question.
the state of affairs of the country
No
is.
word from the Bidens or the White House staff at this moment. Yeah.
No.
Of course not.
I don't know if I'm getting an invitation to the next State of the Union or anything.
Maybe you'll get invited to the Christmas party.
Maybe.
Maybe. Through Zoom. Maybe through Zoom. So I want to ask you about your faith and your religion. What do you believe in? And is this what, prompted you to say something?
For me, I am a Christian. I believe that God has a purpose for every one of us. And the challenge sometimes is that there is a distance between that purpose and where we currently are. And the challenge of being able to connect the two. And I have been going through my life looking for that opportunity to connect my purpose with where I am. And so I've always felt that God has given me a gift to be able to speak articulately. And I've always felt that my life's calling was to be the person who could bridge the gap, who could help people kind of begin to see the true picture of who is behind the facades that we create, right? And by seeing the true person behind that facade, we can truly understand that we have much more in common than divides us. And so it is possible that we can disagree on a very, a specific policy and still continue to see the humanity in each other. And I think that is the call of Christianity, is that we understand that people will disagree, and we should be okay with that. As a missionary, I was going door to door, and probably 80 to 90% of the doors would be slammed in my face. Most people were not interested. In my entire time in Los Angeles for 2 years, I remember I served in an area where in 4.5 months, I got into a single door. And
wow.
In the city of angels.
The message I was sharing, I felt, I know, right? The message I was sharing, I felt was so important that even if people rejected me at that moment, that I believed that I had to present myself in such a way that they may be more willing to listen to somebody else who comes after me, right? And so I have a responsibility not only to share what I know, but to prepare the way for that person to be receptive to somebody else tomorrow.
Well, it's
right. And I think that's the important thing. I think in our current political climate, you have a lot of people who are talking to people as if that's the last time they would ever talk to them, right? And so they say the meanest thing they can say, the biggest, hot take that they can get at that moment, not thinking that, what if I come across this person again? What if my children come across this person? What if someone who wears my same hat comes across this person? How are they going to feel about that person because of my behavior, right? And so I've always felt that this is something that one of my leaders, religious leaders, said that always stuck with me. He said, you should treat people such that, they feel something even if they don't agree with you, that they feel the goodness that is coming out of you, even though they don't agree. And I believe that this is not just a religious philosophy. It is a philosophy for life and for success, because you never know, you never know the influence you're going to have on somebody, even by virtue of them just having that positive interaction.
Somebody's listening. That seed is being planted. Danny made an observation before the show started that your name Alma in Spanish means soul. And it's so appropriate and serendipitous, I'll use your word, that your name means soul, because you're such a kind soul and you come across that way. You're so gentle, very peaceful.
Very peaceful.
Yeah. How has the reaction been in your community?
The reaction actually has been very, very positive.
So good.
In fact, it has me quite encouraged. And I wish, and I don't necessarily care about, whether the president saw my video or not, but I wish the president
he saw it.
saw the comments that came from the people who responded to the video. So at least he could hear that the people that he maligned are not the character that he said they were. And the love and the support and the response has just been so positive. And so one of the things he said was that MAGA Republicans saw the world as, this gloomy and dark, and thought, I have not seen any such response to any of this. Like, people were more horrified at his words than, what they have felt in their own lives and in their outlook on the country. Even with our current division, people are still optimistic that we can make a difference, that we can change, and we can change our course, and we can head into a better direction in the future. And it was just very disappointing. And for me personally, the thing that, and I said this on the interview on Fox and Friends, is I thought about the children, because I know that there are millions of people who have MAGA hats, right? Danny, you're wearing a MAGA hat right now. And so when the president says MAGA Republicans are the problem, and your child goes to your closet and sees that MAGA hat, or goes to looking through grandma's pictures and sees her at a Trump rally holding a MAGA flag, or sees someone with a MAGA sticker on their car, what is going on in that child?
Do you think that it's possibly intentional that they're doing that way to get to the children?
To confuse them.
I mean, I don't have any evidence to back that up. However, I know that the words in the teleprompter did not come there by accident.
No,
it was
of course not.
read, proofread, probably read a few more times, probably practiced before it was given. So there were definitely multiple opportunities for someone to say, maybe let's not paint this broad brush that could potentially cover half of the country. And if there wasn't anybody in the president's circle who felt they could speak up, or at least see how dangerous that characterization would be received, it's something that that breaks my heart even more, that possibly we don't have our president surrounded by people who truly, understand the makeup of the country and where the heart of the country is at this time.
Are your children school age?
Yes, I have a 15-year-old, a 14. I also have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. So I
And
have
they're
4
handling
kids.
everything
Oh, wow.
And
fine, and nobody's giving them any problems in school.
Yeah.
Their dad's a superstar all of a sudden.
Well,
How do they feel?
so far, I haven't heard anything. I mean, I live in a pretty red state, and so
Okay.
I have a lot of support. I went to church on Sunday, and I didn't know people wake up in the morning on Sunday and watch Fox and Friends. And so I go to church, and people are giving me like high fives. I'm like,
Oh my gosh,
what happened
star
here?
quarterback came
And
in.
they're like, hey, I saw your post. I saw your interview on Fox. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize people were waking up and watching
Oh,
that
that's
show
so
in the morning.
exciting.
But
Oh, yeah.
so far, I'm very encouraged about the response. Now, even those people who had different opinions were still a majority of them were very respectful as well. And that is the kind
that's good.
attitude that I hope to engender. My goal is not to throw out incendiary things just to get a reaction. That is not my goal. I want to communicate in a way that moves the needle, that actually gets people to look within themselves and think beyond the divisions that we have created. We've created these artificial barriers that says, if this person is on this side, or if this person is wearing this T-shirt, right, we should behave in a certain way towards them. Now think about it. Many of us think about gangs and we say, I don't get it why wearing this color should, make you a target of this gang. But that's exactly what we've created in our country, where, simple phrases that actually are unifying in their intent can be twisted in such a way that they become a triggering force for people, such that you see a person wearing a red hat and you have this visceral feeling to go and attack them because you have been almost like programmed like a drone to
And
behave
in a sense,
in that
they
way.
are being
And I
programmed.
want to exactly. I want to destigmatize the word, and then also destigmatize or remove the emotion that has become associated with that word, so we can start looking at it as, something that can be unifying again. And some people have asked me, some people have said, well, there are incendiary things associated with this particular moniker. So why don't you come up with something new and create another thing? And then I thought, what if I came up with something new? And then tomorrow, somebody else comes along and says, well, he says, restore American patriotism. But what he really means is like, let's go back to, the times of slavery. They can distort whatever you are saying. And so the solution is not to jump from one phrase or quote to another, just hoping to find one that they cannot demonize. I think the solution is standing our ground and saying, this is not what we mean. And if there's anybody out there who has hate in their heart, who wears this symbol, we are rejecting and denouncing those people. But we are going to stand our ground and not cede that ground to people who want to distort the reality that we have around that word.
Agree. And it's kind of funny now. I've seen the Bill Clinton video going around of him saying, make America great again. So there it is.
Exactly.
We can be unified. We've got a Democrat president saying and a Republican saying, make America great again.
Exactly. And what I'm hoping for is, back in the day, we had blue dog Democrats. I hope that there is a MAGA coalition on the Democrat side as well. People who say, maybe we have different ideas about how to solve our problems in the country, but we also want to make America great again, right? I would love to see that as well, so that we can move away from the emotional, and the personality-driven narratives and turn into ideas-driven narratives. So we can start actually meeting on the battlefield of ideas, where we can actually say what works and what doesn't work, and compare and contrast and research and learn from our mistakes and so on and so forth. That's where we need to be in pushing the country forward. But, creating a caricature of an entire group of people and then basically programming the one side of the political aisle to see them as monsters is dangerous. I think about Rwanda and some of the atrocities that happened there. And it all started with looking at a group of people as different and separate and the cause of your problems and evil. And eventually, once you do that long enough, you get to a point where people almost, you say, they're past feeling, right? They don't feel anymore, meaning that you can then use them to achieve whatever ends you want. And that is a very dangerous place to be. And so my hope is we can bring down the temperature and we can draw ourselves away from that edge, of the cliff and say to each other, we may disagree, but we have to stop saying that the other side is evil. And this happens on both sides every now and then.
Yeah.
We have to stop saying that.
Okay.
So, first of all, I want to thank you for speaking upon, the minority group, because I am a minority. My parents came here from a different country, just like you did. And reasoning that my dad came here was because he wanted us to see, to live the American dream, to achieve more than what he couldn't back home. So with that, with all that, I grew up, understanding the love for this country. And my parents, who were not born here, always made us say the Pledge of Allegiance and respect our country and know of our country. What made you, besides your missionary, what made you come here and live here in America?
So my mom actually had the opportunity when she was a teenager to come to New York. So she lived in New York for about a year, her last year of high school as an exchange student. And she had the opportunity to experience American life. And so when she got home and she got married and had kids, she had pictures of America. And so we always looked through her album and she would tell us stories and she would cook meals from America. So I was eating all sorts of,
What's your favorite?
Sloppy Joes and and she would make shepherd's pie and she would make apple pie and she would make all these different things. We had a Christmas exactly like they did in America. We had a Christmas tree. We did all those things that she had learned when she came to America. And so we kind of had a little taste of American life through my mother. And then in 1989, my dad had the opportunity as well to come to Los Angeles. And he also had a great experience. He came home with pictures. And as a kid, I remember seeing him pictures at Disney World, actually Disneyland in California, and SeaWorld and Universal Studios. And I looked at all that. And I remember as a kid, I told a fib to one of my classmates. I brought a picture of my dad in Los Angeles, and I told them that this was my house. But I was just so, enamored by his experience, and I wanted to come to America so badly. And so he made it a point to tell us from a young age that we will go to school in America. And when the time comes, he would provide a way for us to do so. So that was the plan from the beginning. I knew I wanted to come to America a very long time. And I planned everything to make that possible. So I had the opportunity to graduate high school at 16. And when I did, at that moment, I went and I wrote the SAT. I was excited. I wanted to come to America. And my parents said, no, you were 16. We're not letting you go to America by yourself. And the funny thing is, their rebuttal was that, yes, you're done with high school and the next step is college. But they said Americans are very independent. And in order to succeed in America, you have to be independent. And you need to be able to take care of yourself. And so he put that idea in my mind and said, I don't think you're ready yet. And so my parents actually had private schools that they ran. And so what they did was they hired me as a 16-year-old teacher in their private school. And I taught English and computer skills from K to 9th grade. And so I started teaching at 16. I kept teaching until I was 18. And that is partly where I got my training to basically be able to stand in front of people, to be able to speak boldly and clearly, and to be able to articulate myself and create analogies that help people understand what I'm trying to say. And so I learned a lot from that experience. And then after I turned 18, that is when I applied finally again to go to school here, and I got admitted. And then once I was admitted, I deferred that to go on my religious mission. And then after that, I came back to Utah to go to school. So that's how that worked out.
Have you been back since you've come to America?
Yes, I've been back. So once I finished my missionary service, I went back home for about 6 weeks, and then I returned to start school. While I was home, I knew my wife before, so we started dating, and then I left her, and I said, "Hey, I'll be back in a year and a half to get married." And so I went to school, and I didn't last a year and a half. It was just about 9 months, and I was like, I'm not going to take this long distance relationship anymore. And so I went back home. My mom was not very happy because she wanted me to finish school before getting married.
But love.
But I went home. See, and this is another secret. Another secret. I am possibly the only man in the world that actually bought my wife's wedding dress without her knowledge.
Surprised her.
Wow. How did you do that?
I found someone that was about her size. And had
What?
Anyway, my mom didn't want me to come home, and because my older brother was not married at the time, and my mom thought I was rushing things too much. And so I told her, "Hey, I'm just coming home to check to see if, this was going to work." But I came home with a wedding dress and a ring.
That's a man who knows.
I got home.
Exactly.
I got home, and then my wife and I got married in 2006. And fortunately, she was finishing her college degree at the time. And so I waited for her to graduate. And then we came back together to the U.S. in June of 2006. And then we've been here ever since. Since then, we've gone back with our children 3 times now. The last time was just.
And your wife has her citizenship?
Yep,
and
we
you'll
both
be
got our
voting for the
citizenship on the
first
same
time.
day.
That's so exciting.
Yep, voting for the first time. I voted in the primary elections, and so this will be the very first actual
and 24 will be your first presidential election. That's so great.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And for me, it's not just that I'll be voting in America. I have never voted anywhere because I left Ghana before I could vote in an election. And so I've never voted at all. I'm 38 years, and this will be the very first time I actually
Congratulations.
vote
That's so
in
wonderful.
any election.
Yes.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Mel?
Well, I do have one more question. Are you, now that you have this newfound success, are you planning on doing something with that, turning into, a positive? Do you see yourself, continuing to do this?
So I understand that, a lot of things in life are fleeting. And so I am very grounded and I know that, you can get you can get a lot of attention one day and then tomorrow you're old news. And so I get that. And I don't know how long this is going to last. However, I want, in the time that I have, to be able to inspire as many people. And the way I reference myself is I am a cheerleader for America. I want us to be in a place where people can wake up in the morning and feel proud to be American. Because I believe that you can't fix something that you don't love with all your heart. And in order for us to fix this country and to return to the principles that made this country great in the first place, we have to love this country. And I want people to not be ashamed to love the country. We understand that we have made terrible mistakes as a country in the past. And we understand that things are not perfect today. However, we can't be held hostage to our imperfections. right? We have to look forward, and we have to have the courage to chart a path that works for all of us, right? Without being shackled to the foibles of our past. And I want to be the voice that helps people feel that feeling of patriotism again. I want people to see my face and remember why they love this country. And I want people to understand that it is possible for us to return to a place where we can have some civility, where we can see each other as individuals who have feelings, who agree more than we don't. One thing that really bothers me is it's almost like a statement that people say automatically. Sometimes when they introduce themselves, they say, I may not agree with this person on anything, but, and the question that always comes to my mind is, how do you know you don't agree with them on anything? Like, is that even possible, right? Is it possible to not agree with somebody on anything? I don't think that's realistic. And I think most of the time we present ourselves with our biggest disagreements rather than presenting ourselves with the most important things that matter to us, right? And when we do that, we will realize that even those that we see are, on the other side, we will see some humanity in them. And I'm going to say something that I don't know if people are going to like this, but I feel like I should say this. I read an article today just talking about a Vogue article that has been done by AOC. And in the article, she claims that she feels that she could be killed at any moment. She feels that, her life is in danger. And I may not agree with her on certain policies, but I don't believe that she should live in this country and feel that way and feel that her life is threatened because she holds certain values that other people don't agree with. And so if these threats are being created by people on my side of the aisle, that's problematic, right? Because we may not agree, and I feel like we should meet on the battlefield of ideas, but never cross over into turning that battle of ideas into, actual physical battles.
That's why dialogue is so important, because without dialogue, you have violence.
That is why dialogue is so important. So, I would, I don't have the profile, but I would love to sit down with someone like AOC and say, let's talk like real human beings. Let's not talk, with sound bites from here and there, but let's talk like real human beings that have feelings, because I am sure there are things that we can agree on. And if there are disagreements, I'm sure we can part ways as friends rather than enemies. And that is why I felt so strongly to speak out against the president's speech, because he basically telegraphed to half of the country that you can ignore the other half because they're not worth, anything to you, because they're enemies of the state.
Well, that's
and
the first time a sitting president has ever called out the American people. They can call each other out, but to call the American people.
Yeah.
And I know it's one thing to kind of, every now and then there's a group of people that, are supporting a certain policy that you may agree with, and so on. And I understand that in politics, people, sometimes single out those differences and point people out and call them different names and so on. But this was with such a broad brush, knowing very well that millions of people saw themselves this way. And then when they tried to take it back, I felt like it was like gaslighting at its finest, right? To basically say, you didn't hear what you heard. He said something completely different. And I said, nope, I'm not accepting that at all. He said what he said. They knew what they were putting out there. And I needed to speak up, at least so that others would hear that they're not alone in the way.
Courage over comfort, right?
I know. Choose courage over comfort. Yep. Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. We know you must be busy, and we appreciate everything that you're doing, that you have done, and that you continue to do for our country. And welcome to our country. Congratulations on voting for the first time. And
Yes.
many blessings to you and your family.
Yeah. Thank you. I wanted
Please.
to add one little thing. So one of the things that I have
yes.
become passionate about, and you asked where I see myself going after this. One of the things I've become really passionate about is free speech, because I believe free speech is pivotal to a free society, right? Because every other right that we have cannot be articulated without the ability to speak about it. I grew up in a country where for the first 16 years of my life, we had one president. And I grew up in a country where my church was banned for a year and a half by the government. Okay. And so I understand free speech is really important in order for us to have a free society. And so one of my biggest campaigns right now is to help preserve free speech. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is I recently launched a platform to help creators like you keep in contact with your followers if for some reason you ever get canceled or banned on social media. And I call the platform keepmyfollowers.com.
Simple. Yes.
So keepmyfollowers.com. And so basically it's a very simple platform. All you do is once you sign up, you get a link. So think of it kind of like a link tree. So a link, you get a link, and with that link, all your followers can go and follow you. What that does is it gives you their email addresses so that if you're ever canceled anywhere, you have the ability to email your followers and tell them where they can find you again.
That's awesome.
Okay. And so awesome. I decided to do that when I saw a couple of my favorite creators on TikTok get canceled and losing, in some cases, millions of followers. And I felt like someone needed to solve it. And you know how the American spirit works. You don't have to wait for someone to solve it. You can go and solve it. And so I went and I bought the domain keepmyfollowers.com and I coded for 3 weeks. And so it's out there now.
Okay.
And I'm glad to share it with the world. So if you know influencers who are afraid of getting banned or canceled, just go on there, create a link, and then tell all your followers to follow you there. And
very easy.
Exactly. And it will give you an email as well. It will generate an email for you so that your followers can reach out to you without you having to give them your personal email. So you can interact by email with your followers on a one-on-one basis as well. So go check it out. And that's definitely my public service to keep maintaining free speech in America. So.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So I went to Brigham Young University, BYU, and when I graduated, I was actually very lucky. I was recruited by Microsoft. So Microsoft has a large legal department, and they could definitely sponsor green cards and H-1B visas and so on. So Microsoft actually sponsored me for my H-1B visa. And then after that, I moved from Microsoft and went to work for another company. And they were eventually purchased by another company. And that company in 2003, this is Highland Software out of Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. Highland Software was the one that actually sponsored my green card. And so I am eternally grateful to them because they finally put me on the path to citizenship. By that time I had been here for 10 years and I didn't have any way of knowing whether I would ever become a citizen. And they took a chance on me. They saw my value to their company and they sponsored me to get that green card. And so that green card was approved in 2015. And then that made me eligible to apply for citizenship in 2020. And that's what I did. COVID delayed my my citizenship celebration a year. And so I ended up being granted citizenship in 2021.
Wonderful.
But that's how it happened.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah, COVID delayed everything. COVID delayed, period.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say this has been such a beautiful, refreshing interview. You have such a presence, and I can just, to be honest, I can feel God speaking through you. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I
You
think we
touched
all
my
have a
heart.
little tears in our
Thank
eyes
you.
after talking with you. Just very heartfelt.
I'm
You're
going to
very
say mucho
sincere.
gusto en conocerle.
Oh, igualmente.
Yo hablo poquito español.
Oh, poquito. Okay.
All right, we're good.
It
Thank
was
you
such
so
a
much,
Good to
Alma.
talk to you. Yeah, I
Yes.
hope to connect with you
Yes,
as when my
please
book
let us.
comes out later this
Yes,
year.
stay in touch with us.
Oh,
We would love to have
awesome.
you back
Yes.
on. Thank you so much.
All right,
Blessings.
sounds good.
Yes.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much for having me.